Trump's got a new border czar, and let's see, you come to California June 19th this year. By the way, you'll notice that there are all these people here who are being caught by Customs and Border Patrol. This is on Outnumbered. These people are not like lining up to get a free pass into the country. They've been caught. They also, a lot of them have roller bags. And the reason they do is because the access road built while building the wall. Just reminding you. Yeah. So this is Trump's border czar sends fiery warning to Dems. Get the hell out of the way.
Well, Democrats are all.
By the way, what Dems are in the fucking way of this, by the way? According to these assholes, Customs and Border Patrol have just been walking these people through, going, I don't care. Biden's president. Go fight. Borders open. Do what you're going to do.
Already preparing to push back on former President Trump's planned migrant deportation program. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey is already declaring that her state will not comply.
If the Trump administration requests it, would the Massachusetts State Police assist in mass deportations?
No, absolutely not. Every tool in the toolbox has got to be used to protect our citizens, to protect our residents, and protect our states, and certainly to hold the line on democracy and the rule of law.
But the president-elect's newly named border czar, Tom Homan, says he won't be stopped by sanctuary cities or states. Watch.
Well, and again, yeah, you kind of will. By the way, if you want to set up the next Democratic president, and there will be one, with absolute administrative power over the states, if you want to blitzkrieg over states' rights and the borders of states, because the federal government has a right to use emergency powers to create a papers, please law in these states, fill your boots, man.
And look, I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, a suggestion: if you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way, because we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send to New York City, because we're going to do the job. We're going to do the job without you.
Right? Yes. Do that. Send more ICE and Customs and Border Patrol people to New York City. And to do that, you will need the House and the Senate to pass a budget expansion. And to do that, you will need votes from Democrats to pass it, even with a majority. And to do that, you will get a bill that is closer to the bill that you saw before. And if you want anywhere near the money that you're going to need for these extra agents, because you can't just commandeer the state and the local police, which is what they're talking about. That's what this is really about. They want to commandeer the state and local police and commandeer the National Guard people to do this for them, so that he doesn't have to put it in the federal budget. And so that like Republicans can't go, we're spending money we don't have. Well, guess what, motherfucker? This shit's going to be expensive. Not just the legal aspect of it, but the material aspect of it. And the idea that you're going to have local sheriffs and local cops having to knock on fucking doors of the very same people that they might need to service, who have, who witness or experience assault, robbery, all that kind of stuff. And if they become afraid to call the police, it ratchets up crime in all these places. They're going to go tell them to go fuck themselves. They're just going to have crime go up everywhere. It's a terrible idea. It'll entrench the crime in these places and make it worse. So have your own fucking people. If you can get it passed, get it fucking passed. Stop, and again, this is Trump trying to make other people do his fucking work for him, so he doesn't have to pass a fucking bill. Well, guess what, dum-dum? You're going to have to pass a fucking bill, or you're going to have to allocate funds from one program to another, or you're going to have to cut some out of your tax cut, or you're going to have to, here it comes, borrow fucking money to pay for more ICE agents, to pay for more Customs and Border Patrol, to pay for more Department of Homeland Security people, to hire contractors to do it, which are ultimately more expensive, because you're doing it in the short term, to go door to fucking door. And it ain't going to be in Massachusetts, motherfucker. It's going to be Texas first. And Texas will let you borrow some of their National Guard. They've already been doing it for the border. And they'll let you, some towns, I have no doubt, will be comfortable, you know, parts of the outside of Dallas and Houston, for example. They're going to let you borrow some of their local police simply as informants. Because, again, that's where Trump was saying they know where all these people live. They know where the bad ones are and the good ones are. And it won't matter because according to Stephen Miller, who's his deputy chief of staff, or sorry, is it? I don't know. They're slipping around so much, whatever. But he's going to be in the deputy policy advisor, anyways, in whatever area he asked it for. He's going to be the secretary of racism. Is definitely going to say they all go. So no, states and you know, are not going to let you commandeer their National Guard if they need it for fucking flood recovery or to rebuild houses and shit like that, or for the Army Corps of Engineers shit that they do with them and the partnerships that they have. All these different states have all these different problems. And you're not going to hand over fucking rows and rows of police officers to go door knocking in areas looking for people asking for papers, please. Are you out of your fucking mind? Now, don't get me wrong. There are a bunch of people who would jump right on board with this shit. They absolutely would. There are police departments and sheriffs and stuff, but there's members of their departments that are not going to do this stuff and have every right not to do this shit because they don't feel like walking around door to door asking Americans to prove they're Americans. And again, this is like, well, get out of the way. Well, motherfucker, she's not in the way. You're trying to commandeer her people.
Or with you. But
And Homan defended the president-elect's deportation plan, saying that it puts our national security first.
President Trump has made it clear. We will prioritize public safety threats and national security threats first. If you're in the country...
All right. Is everybody that works for Trump drunk too?
...illegally, you shouldn't feel comfortable. Absolutely not. I won't feel comfortable if I'm in the country illegally. You shouldn't be comfortable either, because when you enter this country illegally, you have committed a crime. You are a criminal, and you're not off the table.
I love that theme. There's been a big...
And yeah, that includes everybody. And they consider all asylum seekers who cross the border before they declared asylum to be null and void. Everybody TPS, everybody DED. They're going to start from scratch. And if you have a right to come in the country or whatever, you'll do it outside the country. That's what it'll be, remaining wherever the fuck at that point. But they're going to, first places they're going to start scooping people up is in red states specifically, because that's where they'll get the most help. New York and San Francisco and a couple of other states are going to, I mean, because it's not South Americans largely in New York and in San Francisco, it's a largely Asian that take up positions in the community. And if they went through and did a sweep of that, it'd fucking gut some of these cities, and they know it. And it's not going to look the same as what their people are expecting. But either way, you're not going to get the local police department to just kind of do your fucking job for you. And if you want enough people to pull off this giant deportation thing, you're going to either have to borrow funds from something else, which is more than likely he's going to lift it from the defense budget. He'll declare an emergency and that we're under attack, and that standard will be lowered to the fucking floor going forward. Imagine if you created, instead of declaring war, we started doing this like war on terror thing where we don't have to declare war. It's just overall we're fighting terrorism. Imagine doing that with domestic immigration politics. Instead of saying, okay, we've got different groups here for different reasons, visa overstays, migrant workers, people working under the table, those kind of things. And we just scrap it all and go, this is an invasion. Every one of these people is an enemy combatant. That's what they're doing. That's what they're talking about. And then that becomes the floor. By the way, Hal, when he'll have lots of federal money, Hal, when he shuts down departments he doesn't need, like education, FDA, housing, he can't automatically divert those funds. Those funds are allocated by Congress. They evaporate. You don't get to shut down the Department of Education and then build the Department of Education wall. It doesn't work that way. It can't work that way unless you eliminate the powers of the purse from the House and the Senate. And does anybody think the Republicans in the House and the Senate want to give up their power? See what I mean? But who will stop him? It doesn't matter. The check doesn't get written. The check doesn't clear. It's not like he can go over and fill a wheelbarrow with cash. You have to allocate the funds. And if you can't allocate the funds, they don't go anywhere. They evaporate. What he wants to do is eliminate the Department of Education and give a tax break. So what all the things he's going to eliminate, the idea is that he wants to give a tax break, and that's how he's going to pay for it, by getting rid of those things. Okay, that's the goal. That's what they're doing. He's going to eliminate elements of the FDA and elements of the EPA and elements of, and the entire Department of Education, that shit. And from that, he's going to save some money that he's going to pass on to the taxpayer, mainly his buddies. Okay. So, but even, you know, in this situation, he can't just take that money and put it somewhere else. It's allocated by Congress. That's Congress's role. Now, could they say, we're not going to give a tax break to this thing, or we're going to give a tax break and we're going to take this money from the DEA or the Department of Education, the DOE, and we're going to give it to you. What we're going to use for that, we're going to use for your, expelling migrants. Yeah, but you're going to have to pass a bill that says that allocates it. It'll have to be a budgetary supplemental. It might be the thing that they fight over that shuts down the government, depending on how many votes they need or have. Because they, again, even though they have an edge, it's not a huge mandate in either house. It's you're within the margin of error of 54%, right? That's what we've got. Like 53, I think, is what they have in the Senate, more than likely. And we're looking at a hair's breadth in the House. That is not a stomping mandate. It just isn't. So there's a bunch of people there who are like, fuck, this could turn around. This could go the other way. And apparently, if there is any rigging going on, like people are concerned about, it's only for Trump. It isn't for House and Senate races, because a lot of these assholes got bounced. A bunch of seats got flipped. That's how it worked. So just to clarify, right? And he's like, if you're in the U.S. illegally, you're not off the table. Well, what if you were in here illegally and then you managed to become illegal? What's the line? Now, Donald Trump has said something in one of his most recent videos that said, like, going forward, if you enter the country, you're immediately blah, blah, blah. And that's the one where Laura and all these other people were freaking out that he's perhaps thinking about amnesty for everybody who came in during the Biden administration. How do you feel anyone should be able to come in undetected? No. I think we should have a functional asylum system. And I think we should have a high-tech element of our border. But the more you build wall, the easier it gets to walk around the wall.
Comfort that illegal entrants have enjoyed for quite some time now. The whole point is you shouldn't be comfortable.
I mean, isn't it amazing just to see that?
Also, what's the comfort part? I honestly don't get that at all. They should be nervous. They should be scared. They should be sweaty. Like, do they not know how these people live under the radar?
Transformation, that attitude, rather than the sort of nonsense we've had for 4 years. Just a quick point on the attitude of these Democrat governors. What Orwellian doublespeak there from the governor of Massachusetts? She's like, we're going to protect our people. Excuse me, you have people who are illegally here. They shouldn't be in the first place. Violent criminals assaulting, in some cases murdering American citizens, and she's going to protect the criminals?
No, she's not. The Biden administration, the Obama administration, even the Trump administration, everybody bounces the criminals first. The idea isn't to keep those people in here. And even the people you're talking about, the vast majority of them were youths when they entered the country, even if it was new. Like the one guy who, Lake and Riley's killer, I think was, 17 when he entered the country 2 years ago?
Just absolutely extraordinary.
He's a minor. He was a lone minor.
And that's what's been happening for 4 years. We talked about this last week, Harris.
No, it isn't. If it was happening like that, then this wouldn't be the footage you'd be seeing.
Absolutely extraordinary.
Why is there barbed wire? Why are these people being turned away?
And that's what's been happening for 4 years.
Why are people being lined up and processed and returned?
We talked about this last week, Harris, that indeed, where was the protection? Where was that strength during the last 4 years when our American citizens have been under attack? Well,
also, they haven't been under attack. There's been several people killed, like there have been every year, every 4-year cycle in our existence. Like, immigrants and citizens kill people. It happens. By the way, if there's this gigantic fucking spike in people crossing, which there isn't, it's all encounters, which is, again, he gets to pretend he solved a problem that didn't exist in the first place. Like, look how he'll start talking about how these are encounters. These are the same people. This is one guy coming across 9 times during my presidency. We're kicking that guy out, and he keeps coming back through. But that's not the same. We don't have 9 people coming in because that's the reality, right? Let's be honest. He's going to start saying the stuff I've been saying about what was going on under Biden during his presidency. But even still, you've got at any particular time. I mean, there's multiple people that were killed during Trump's administration. It had nothing to do with like border policy. It was just it's a big dirt border, and that's why we need high tech shit. Because if you create a wall, you create an access road. If you create an access road, the wall can only go to either private land or native land. And once it reaches an Indian reservation or private land, the wall stops. But the access road takes you right down to it. And that's what's going to continue to happen. And you can hear all these stories about these people, like they come down and they run right across my property.
And I would add to that, Emily, where was the compunction to use it if it even existed in the first place? I mean, where was the intestinal fortitude to look at the southern border? And by the way, we don't talk enough about the northern border, but to look at how porous our entry points on our country have been throughout this administration. Where was the intestinal fortitude to say, no, enough, we're going to do this the right way?
Well, they did. They were like, the border is closed. They went down. She flew down to different countries and spoke to them directly. They slowed the advance of this to a trickle. Most of the people that were backed up, again, these are encounters. These are people who were in the Mexican side of the border during the Trump administration under Title 42, that the minute they came across, they didn't process them at all. They just kicked them right out. And they came back across again. And they created a conveyor belt. Title 42 creates a conveyor belt of drugs and human trafficking because nobody's tried on any of the shit. People do not get their legally sanctioned support. They don't get a hearing of any sort. They don't even get registered in a lot of ways. So they don't even get like, oh, this is the same person that came through. You keep breaking our laws. You're never coming back in again. After 3 times, they just like kick him out again. They're not even looking. At this point, his fucking, even the stuff about like, we're going to kick out the killers and the bad people first. All you're saying to, like, if an Iranian comes over here who's been sent by the regime to cause trouble, he can just commit acts of sabotage until he's caught and then murder someone in the process of being caught, and he'll get a free flight home. He won't be put in jail. He won't be put in Gitmo. He won't be, sent to a federal penitentiary. He'll simply be deported to his nation of origin immediately. You're just giving him a free flight home. What the fuck is that?
We want legal immigrants in this country. I just don't know. It's like she lost her voice, Kamala Harris. I'm not sure, but she was in charge. With or without the title of czar, she was the vice president who Biden picked to solve the problems on the border. And
no, she didn't. She was helping to mitigate the traffic of what was effectively the caravan idea from South America.
Seems, Kayleigh, that
not the border. The border, by the time they get to the border, it's a different problem. Does that make sense? It's like trying to cure a zombie apocalypse versus just firing down from the wall as they're climbing up whatever place you've, the prison or the high school you've taken over and turned into a fortress.
messaging, that's what the voters
I've been watching way too much Walking Dead lately.
Spoke. That message of not again, no more, and it's time to prioritize Americans, which Tom Homan will clearly drive.
Tom Homan,
how do you know,
is incredible. Tom Homan is tough, firm. He's the guy to get the job done. I'm glad he is borders are. But prepare for that man to be villainized and demonized, and Trump too, and Stephen Miller too. But here's the courage and fortitude and...
excuse me. I don't think they have to demonize it. I think I will describe it accurately. Also, Stephen Miller is a demon. I'm just saying. It's obvious. Clearly. The man has to sleep in a box filled with dirt from his home country. I don't know what else you call that.
What they could rest upon. 54% in an Ipsos poll said they want mass deportation. Public opinion has shifted. They stand behind the plan of the Trump administration. Because why? 8 million plus legal immigrants have entered the country.
No, they haven't. 50,000
pounds of fentanyl since Biden took office. That's enough to kill every man, woman, and child multiple times over in this country. 24.
Yeah, the same thing happened in the last 2 years of the Trump presidency.
4,000 Chinese nationals in 2023 alone crossed our border. That's why Tom Homan.
That we caught. We caught them. That's mean we're catching them. Again, every time they talk about, how many people crossed into the border, this is because the Biden administration was actually acting on all this kind of stuff. Trump actually has the nerve to fucking say there were no terrorists that crossed our border on the southern border during, 2019 or whatever it is, which means he just didn't catch anybody. Are you out of your fucking mind? And what he meant was terrorist threat countries or what have you, like countries that we regard as being, full of terrorists. Nobody from those countries came across. Well, that just means you didn't see any of them. Or they came in through the northern border. Or they fucking flew in and overstayed a visa. 9/11, anyone?
Conveys his message with so much passion because he has seen the risk that you all are at because of a lawless southern border. He may be villainized, but the American people are behind him.
Kaylee, your thoughts?
Well, I would just note that Fox is.
Well, again, the mass deportations idea of it sounds like, well, as long as they're illegal and they're criminal and they're violent, and if they're everything I hear that they are, and if they're rounded up in a group and kicked out, that's fine. But what about all the other stuff that goes with this, which again is the sort of stop and frisk across huge sections of the country, the papers please law aspect of it. And if they get it wrong and they pick up American citizens or the spouses of American citizens with them, or people who have an accent but don't have their fucking passport on them and get kicked out of the fucking country and can't get back into their own country.
Bill Malugin has pointed out that Massachusetts actually has some of the worst cases of migrant crime in the entire country. Horrible case. It defies all logic and reason that the Democratic governor of Massachusetts would go on camera and defend those kinds of criminal migrants who should have been deported a very long time ago. And you're right, Kaylee.
Yeah, I don't think that's what she's doing. I think she's worried that you're going to commandeer her sheriff and her state police and her local police, and that nobody's going to call the fucking cops anymore from certain communities, and a lot of murders are going to go unsolved, among citizens because of this.
Vast majority of the American public stands behind the mass deportations. This isn't controversial. It's basic law.
Oh, by the way, no. I will give you that 54% are for the theory of they want mass deportations. It's how they are carried out that matter. That's the problem when you start going with mass deportations. What does that look like? Are you just busting people? What they think it is, and a lot of these people think, is that the people that are in New York City that are immigrants that have been flown up there, that are incorporated into it, have jobs, have green cards at this point, or the Haitians in Springfield, or any particular area where there's large communities of TPS and DED people, that those people are just going to be kicked out. That's it. That's what they think the mass deportation is, that there are these areas where there are 30,000 Haitians dumped outside a city and they're all going to go. That's what they think. And that's what it's going to be, just criminals and those people. And then there's going to be big open football fields that used to be, full of migrants that are going to be empty. That's what they think. And then the rest of the people that get scooped up in is just collateral damage.
Law enforcement. If you are violating U.S. law, you do not belong here. And so we'll see what happens in the days ahead. But I would imagine that the Trump administration is going to get pretty strict with some of these sanctuary cities in particular, not just sending a few hundred.
Yeah, but even a sanctuary city, like they just don't check your immigration status. Some of them have stricter rules than others. But the thing is, they don't coordinate with ICE on nonviolent crimes automatically. They don't go, hey, you seem kind of Mexican, and check when somebody gets busted for a DUI or something like that. They don't primarily send it. And again, these are different for every city and every place. That's why there's no singular standard for what makes a sanctuary city. But the biggest part of it is that if you're a murderer, they're going to pass you along. If you are engaged in criminal sexual assault or you're violent assaults, they're going to pass you along to ICE for deportation. They're just going to hang on to you until you finish your trial and then your sentence most of the time.
More ICE agents, but actually putting at risk the federal funding of cities and states that refuse to abide by federal immigration law.
Yeah, but those are the cities that pay the federal funds. They are. Where the fuck do you think you're getting the tax dollars from? are the cities that are telling you to go fuck yourself, because they're the ones with the biggest underground work situation, because that's where all the jobs are.
They should. And
look at the city behind you. Biden's America, motherfucker.
To your point, remember, it's Minnesota that has the largest percentage of ISIS radicalized members, over 27% from the former Democrat candidate for vice president's home state. And remember when Jen Psaki laughed at the notion of people in Virginia caring about illegal immigration? Yes. The whole point is every state has been a border state under the past administration. Hey, everyone.
No, they haven't. And she's laughing at the idea that every state's a border state. And no, it's fucking not. Every state is not a border state. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. Wisconsin, it's silly. Do you have Hispanic workers coming up in a bunch of those places? Do the states that have farms in them traditionally have a lot of immigrant workers? Yeah. Do you put any of the people who hire them in jail? No. So stop blaming the immigrants. Right? One of the things that, and I think Democrats should call the bluff on this, that if one of the things you're really concerned about is jobs being taken, then Democrats should float bills that offer a fine and prison terms, like advanced fines and prison terms for any employer who's knowingly hiring undocumented workers. You know, if you have more than 5 people working for you as undocumented labor, you get an automatic 5 years. A year for every employee, minimum. No deferral, mandatory minimum based on that. And watch how the fucking backpedaling happen. And not just because it hurts their bottom line across a bunch of industries, but because Donald Trump has done this at Mar-a-Lago and at Doral and all these other fucking places for years. They prefer legal foreigners to Americans, because those people, if they're sexually harassed, keep their fucking mouth shut because they're afraid they'll get kicked out of the country. That's another big reason why they like legal foreign workers in a lot of these places, being wait staff and all that shit at all of Trump's properties. Because you can smack the waitresses on the ass and treat them like shit, because if they talk back, you can have them deported. But they're the law and order party, and, Jesus chose him. Jesus chose him to be the guiding light. I have to say, I am enjoying the infighting, and I am also looking forward to them backbiting during a bunch of this. We're going to have our work cut out for us, no question. But it will be crucial to keep track of those things, right? And do everything we can. And I will do everything I can on this show to point people in that direction, right? Wes is losing it again. Wes is always losing it. Wes lost it before he even had it. It's okay. He's allowed. He's the least of our worries. The thing going forward, I want people to watch out for and to pay attention to is who the actual that get in there and how long they last. It will matter, because I got to tell you, Homan will be in there for the run. Homan will make it, at least to the midterms, and I don't think they're going to shuffle him out because he fucks up the deportations and stuff. They want it to be ugly. They prefer it to be ugly. It is okay. One of the things you need to know too is that they want the deportations to look ugly. Part of the reason for the child separations was not just because they are cruel to those individuals, but because they want to scare people into not coming here. They believe that they think that being nice to people who were seeking asylum, for example, rang the dinner bell for people all over the world and made them go, oh shit, America's open. We can get in. They're being humane. And so everybody who thought they had a chance on humane grounds started heading our way. Right? That was what they believed. There's no reason to not come here because the place is fucking great. Ultimately, compared to a lot of countries in the world. So it's always a better situation, even when it's terrible, right? Comparatively. So a lot of these folks, they believe that it rang the dinner bell for immigrants all over the place. Okay. So part of what they want to do is make this look as ugly as possible so that it scares people from coming here in the first place. And they will use the number of that they say are diminished of people coming here as proof that that worked. Yes, asylum is legal. That's a totally different animal. I'm just telling you where their thought form is coming from. I'm just letting you know. So they want it to look ugly. And so calling it ugly and racist and all those kind of things is not going to, they're going to consider that a success. Okay? That criticism is not going to shift anything. That criticism is not going to impact their decision about it. So, I like just something to be aware of, because what I think also is it's important for us as this stuff happens to recognize how you criticize it in a way that actually has impact, because a lot of the criticisms that are natural to it and seem very obvious are the kind of thing that are going to scare people or are going to make them think it's working. This is the reaction we want. Okay? So we're going to have to cut some angles. Just letting you know. And and we'll talk about Pete Hegseth tomorrow on the show, because again, like they announce these things and then it's like the fucking Apprentice, where they, it takes them a little while to decide whether or not that's actually going to happen. Some of these are being floated, some of them are for real, and it's hard to tell, right out of the gate which is which. So I'm going to tap the brakes on who he's talking about, because again, he's still got to get them confirmed through the Senate, as much as the Republican Senate might line up behind some of his people. You can expect that most of them will be there, but a bunch of them are going to have to be acting as well, and they're going to run into their own problems. So and again, you've got to address them as they come, not as, oh dear God, what if, right? We're going to try and be very detail oriented about this, because again, the abstracts don't work. How does Blue Sky work? Very much like Twitter. Super good. And my thing on there is just @halsparks.com. If you just look me up on there, that's my real site. It's my real verified. That's how you do verification on there, is that you align it with your website, and so people know that you own that URL, you own that website, and so that's the real you. Anyways, much love. Appreciate you guys. We will get through this, and it is up to us, those of us who can weather it and who can stand it, to hold the line for people who can't. Because I am not concerned about, I'm concerned about my family like everybody else is. I'm concerned about my friends like everybody else is. But I'm more concerned about the people who are downhill from this shit on a drastic level that I don't think people can even picture yet. So we got to pay attention to what those changes are. And you got to see it for what it really is, not for what you're afraid it is or what they say it is, because both of those tend to be a lot of blather and bullshit. And the more details like the thing we looked at with with Glenn Beck tonight, you'll see that once they start putting the details together, there's actually a lot of holes in that can be exploited. But you can't exploit a fear that they hand you and you make it the biggest cudgel because of your personal fear. Yeah? So, anyways, adore you guys. Appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and take care of something. And believe me, there's always, take care of somebody else. There's always somebody like that. There's always something right around the corner that just is. Every time we think either all is won or all is lost, there's this big we're in an era of boomerangs. So just be aware. And those of you that can stay on your feet, you will be needed to get other people who are having a hard time on their feet again. And I'm glad if in any way I can do that. So love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And also, I don't know if this was a thing, but I heard that one of his appointments he was going to appoint the kidney to be.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Yeah, I could agree more, but I'm not going to.